Hello, welcome everyone to week 22 of the mini paint challenge. We have a fun reference photo today. We are going to be doing a collab with another artist named Angela. So I'm really excited for the reference photo that she provided. If you're new here, I do these every single week and we go live, we paint together, or you can paint on your own time. I have all the reference photos on my website. If you go to the mini paint challenge link in my bio, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Then you can download any past reference photos and you're welcome to use them. Just make sure you tag me at Megan Josol Art on either Instagram or Facebook's probably easier, but I also have this YouTube channel and a TikTok as well if you want to tag me on there. And then use the hashtag mini paint challenge. And then I can show your art some love because I love seeing all of the creations you guys come up with. So this week we have a collab with Angela. This is her social media handle right here. So you can find her on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Normally I'm on Instagram with Angela, so I tend to spend a lot of time on Instagram and YouTube. Those are like my two platforms of choice. So she is the one who provided this reference photo for us. She gave us like kind of like a longer reference photo. I did crop it into my normal square aspect ratio, but I love it. It's like a cute little, I told her it's like a cute little like love story between these like little tulips. I love it. And so this is the painting that she did. I think she normally uses just like wash paint is normally what she does. But you can use any medium you'd like. I'm going to be using oil paints today, but sometimes I like to paint with acrylics, and I've been starting to actually sculpt now. I've been doing, here, I can show you guys this. I sculpted this cute little mushroom jar. Look at that. I sculpted it with polymer clay. So at some point I'm thinking maybe in the mini paint challenge we do like a little polymer clay one because that'd be fun. I've collabed with a polymer clay artist before to do the mini paint challenge, but I love doing these like little mushrooms. And we did a sushi last week. I have this one as well. This is another week we did a little mushroom as well. It'd be cute to like sculpt that in polymer clay too. And then, okay, I gotta show you, I cropped it to, so the reference photo here is a little cropped version because I really like the square aspect ratio, but you're welcome to use like the bigger version as well if you want. Okay, so I will switch over to the paint scene, move my lights so I'll be able to see it a little bit better. I cleaned it off fully today, so we gotta like reload the palette up with colors today. So I'm thinking we will start out with, we'll definitely need some titanium white. I don't think we'll actually need, we might need warm white today. Let's put it on the palette just in case we want to use warm white. I'm actually thinking some quinacridone magenta would be nice for some of these flowers today. And probably alizarin crimson as well for some of like the dark areas. Here, I'll use my little arrow for like some of the dark areas in the flowers. I think we'll kind of combine those two colors together. What else do I think? I mean, I could also just use quinacridone red. Maybe we'll put both of those. Have lots of like nice red pigments today. And then we're looking at kind of like the green section. I'm gonna need some yellows in there. I have a little bit of cadmium yellow left, so I want to use that up. So let's use that today. And then of course my favorite, sap green. Can't forget to use that. And I'm always using ultramarine blue in there. For some of like the dark areas, I like to mix up ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. So some of these dark areas are actually going to be purple. And then what else do we want? I'm thinking for the sky, we might even want a little bit of cerulean blue. I feel like I use these colors a lot. Excuse me. Still have an itchy throat from all of my seasonal allergies. Does anyone else get seasonal allergies too? I can't believe we've been running this stream now for 22 weeks. It's so fun to be able to run this little stream. Though I am going to have to take a pause for a few weeks on the stream because I'm going to be traveling with my family. We're all going to California. And we're going to do Disneyland and Universal and Legoland, going to the beach, maybe some of the provincial parks there. I guess they're not called provincial parks, state parks. That's a Canada thing. I live in Canada on Vancouver Island, so they're called provincial parks here. Okay, so that one is titanium white, warm white. And then I'm going to do quinacridone magenta on there. Quinacridone magenta. And quinacridone red. Oh, that's so pretty. I think that actually will be nice today. I don't use quinacridone red actually very often, so we should try using it in this painting. I feel like quinacridone magenta is more popular, but I really like the red as well. Okay, we've got cadmium yellow. That was alizarin crimson. And we've got cadmium yellow light is what I like using. I've actually been using lemon yellow more so lately, but I want to use this cadmium yellow up because it's a little bit older than the other one. So you could either use cadmium yellow or cadmium lemon. They're both pretty similar. This one's sap green. This one's a combo color, so it's not just one pigment. It's a combination of phthalo blue and Indian yellow and a few other little pigments in there. It's really good for, especially if you like painting landscapes, always using it in landscape paintings. And then that one was cerulean blue hue. And then I'm going to use ultramarine blue. I'm thinking I might want to put some like burnt sienna on there too for the dirt color. I feel like it's got like such a nice earthy tone. Excuse me. I hear a cat licking things. Oh my gosh, Mona. You left that out. Mona, stop it. Stop. I just made a breakfast sandwich, so she's licking up the tray that I made the breakfast sandwich on. It was a delicious breakfast today, though. It's a good breakfast. Okay. So I guess we can start color mixing. I want to do the flower colors first. Maybe the sky. I don't know. What should we do? I think I'm probably going to paint the sky first. So let's maybe mix the sky color then. So normally ultramarine blue is really nice for the sky. So I like to start out with that. I'm going to put a little bit of titanium white in it because it's a very like muted sky color. is very bright. We're going to have to add more titanium white. A bit more. I want a really, really muted color here. So we're almost kind of going for that, like, I don't know, it's got kind of like this like grainy, blurred, like very like muted feel in the background. I love it. Kind of like an old-timey photo. It's pretty close actually. I will probably stick with that as kind of like the base color for the sky. I'm gonna put it here on the palette. We're also gonna do some lighter colors too. So I'm gonna take more titanium white. And there's also slightly some mountains in the background too. So we might want to do a slightly darker color as well. And I try to lay them out on my palette that way, kind of dark to light. That's what I tend to do on my palette. It's just nice to organize your colors beforehand. If you're using something like acrylic paints though, it's kind of hard to mix beforehand like this, but you can kind of still take the color mixing advice because it'll be very similar to acrylics. I feel like when you paint with acrylics though, like I used to paint with acrylics a lot, and I find the colors like definitely shift as they dry too. So for acrylics, you just have to kind of like hope you're picking the right color, I guess. You get used to the colors over time, obviously, so. Okay, I'm gonna take this, put that on my palette. I'm also gonna make that mountainy color in the background. I'm gonna take that darker color, and I'm gonna also add a little bit of sap green to it. Not too much, I don't want the mountain to be like super green. But I just want it a bit more muted. Might have to add a bit of red to that. Let's see. We're gonna have to add a bit of red. So I'm gonna add some alizarin crimson. Not too much, or you'll make it like super, super purple. A bit more sap green. That'll give us that muted color we're looking for, because the things in the background are definitely more like desaturated, and as you get forward, certain colors kind of come out more. That's the thing with landscape painting. You kind of have to learn about like the planes. I've read some different art books about landscape painting. I don't do it a lot, but I've been watching more landscape painters because I find it's like, and I did a lot of plein air painting last year in the summer, and it was really fun. I'd like to do more of it and learn more about landscape painting. It's like definitely very different than just regular still life painting, because you're having to deal with like all the different like planes meaning like the foreground and the background, kind of like the different levels. Okay, I'm just gonna clean off the palette. I just have a little cloth here. Clean that off so we don't mix the colors with some of the other pigments. For the clouds, I'm just gonna actually take a little bit of titanium white, and I'm gonna add that to the palette as well. So we have like all of those colors for the sky. And then I think we'll do the flowers next. So I definitely wanted to use some of this quinacridone red. And what I'm thinking is the quinacridone red will work really well kind of in this little area here, especially in these front flowers, kind of on the edge between the white and like the darker reds. I feel like the quinacridone red will be really pretty there. But we're gonna start out with the darkest reds first. I'm gonna just start a new row because the colors for the flowers, there's actually quite a few. So we'll do alizarin crimson. And for those really dark areas, we're actually going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue to give us like that dark purple, but more on the red side still. So like a reddish purple. And that should be, yeah, should be dark enough for those areas. So that's going to be like our darkest pigment. And we'll go back into the alizarin crimson. Add that back there. And then we're going to slowly start to transition into the quinacridone red. So I'm just going to add that into the alizarin crimson. And as we get to that outer color closer to the white part of the flower, it'll go more into that color. Yeah. And then grab a bit of that. Just gonna mix it with whatever alizarin crimson's on there right now. Let me compare the color and see that that's kind of where we want to go. I almost want it to be a little bit more like pinkish though. Maybe start to add a little bit of quinacridone magenta as well. I think the mix of the two will be kind of where we want the color. It's closer. Closer. Okay. Keep that. I'm gonna also do the white color now. So I'm gonna start out with a little bit of ultramarine, or not ultramarine, titanium white. I'm just gonna pick up whatever red is on the palette already, just to kind of make like that type of pink. We're gonna want this to be more on the purple side though, and I think if we add a little bit of quinacridone magenta, and then we'll add a little bit of ultramarine blue as well into that, and that'll kind of turn it a bit more purple. So you can kind of see between the red part of the flower and the white, there's almost like kind of like a purplish kind of tint. It's a little bit desaturated, so we're going to also want to desaturate this color quite a bit. And to desaturate it, what we want to do is we want to use the opposite color on the color wheel, so it would be like a greenish for this purpley color. So we can just add a little bit of that sap green even, and that'll desaturate it and actually make the color a little darker too, which is what we're looking for. Yeah, that's actually really good. Perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for. That is perfect color there. And then we're going to want the whiter sections. I guess I could have kept some of that pigment. Pick up as much of the purple that's already on here into this white pigment, because we don't want it to be just titanium white. I try not to paint with just titanium white if I can avoid it, other than like very, very bright areas, like a lot of clouds in like the brightest areas of the clouds. I'll use a bit of titanium white sometimes, but even then it's only if it's like a bright blue sky, kind of like we're doing here. But we're going to blend that mostly with those colors there. When it comes to highlights in other areas, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, It's almost like a pinky white that we made there. And then, so I like those colors, I think, for the flowers. That's like a pretty nice palette for the flowers. I'm gonna do the green next. So we'll do another row for the green. I'm just gonna clean off the surface a bit. Just clean it off in between colors so we're not mixing. Colors get really muddy and dirty when you mix, kind of like on a dirty surface already. Okay, so we will start out with the sap green, just because I'm definitely using the sap green in there. We'll maybe make like a purpley color too, so I'll put the sap green here. This will be kind of like the next color. Yeah, that'll be the next color. So just straight sap green there. We'll make a purpley color there. So after the sap green, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start adding cadmium yellow to it. And we will slowly lighten this pigment and get kind of like those nice highlights in there. I really love painting flowers too. It's another medium or another subject matter that I really like. So that's like pretty green. We actually want to go more on like the blue side with this one. Let me see. Kind of that a little bit more blue. I'm gonna add some ultramarine blue to it. Okay, let's see how that looks. Closer, a little bit of more ultramarine blue in there. I'm gonna add some alizarin crimson as well. Just because I want to desaturate that a little bit. The green is like a little too bright. Brighter than I want. There we go. More on the blue end. Okay. That's closer to the color I want. Okay. So we have like a more desaturated one. We have the sap green. Right here I'm just gonna keep a little bit of that on my palette and I'm gonna add yellow to it just to lighten it but kind of keep that desaturation. Hey, how's it going? We are doing some flowers today. I actually have a lot planned today too because I've got like the painting today and then we're leaving tomorrow. I'm going to my husband's parents' place on the mainland, so we're gonna be taking the long weekend because it's a long weekend here in Victoria. So we have a long weekend and we thought we would go visit family for the long weekend, which is kind of nice. Kind of want to like desaturate that color a little bit. I don't know, it's pretty good though. I like it. I'm gonna keep that. Sometimes you just have to make the executive decision as the artist and decide to make it a little bit more saturated, even if it doesn't show it in the photo. I'm not trying to match the photo exactly. I think that's my favorite part about being an artist. You just kind of like, you can look at a photo and you can be like, I don't really like that section of the photo or like that part of the view, so I'm just gonna take that out. You can like edit. Like a real life Photoshop. Okay, I just added a little bit of sap green to that. I'm making kind of like the brighter sections of the leaves now. I still gotta make that dark purple color as well. That's pretty good. I'm gonna make the dark purple. I'm gonna clean off the palette a bit before we, there we go. Just wipe that down so we don't mix the colors. So I'm gonna do it kind of more on like the bluish end for that darker color. So alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue. Got a little bit of yellow on my palette there. Okay. It's more on the blue end. And that'll be for the dark areas there. Got a more red one, and this one's like a more blue purple. And then we're gonna step back. I'm gonna also make some of those kind of brown pigments for the ground. I'm gonna make some of it a little grassy too, because there's like little kind of bits here. We'll add some of the pigments from here into the dirt just to get those green sections as well. So I'm probably gonna use the burnt sienna for the ground. It's on the red side though. I don't know. I could make this a bit more blue. Add some ultramarine blue to it because we don't want it as red. Such a nice pigment though. Okay, let's see how that looks. It's not quite there yet. It's like pretty red. I'm gonna add a little bit of titanium white to it. Definitely more blue in there. Let's put a little bit more ultramarine blue. Specifically looking at kind of this area down here, some of these more like blue sections. Make sure you download the reference photo so you can like blow it up a little bit bigger on my website. It's a little bit easier to see the colors when you have it a little bit bigger too. But you can definitely see there's a bit more blue within the brown tones in the dirt. So that's why I'm just adding some ultramarine blue to the burnt sienna. Yeah, that's actually a lot closer there. So I like that pigment. I think I'll probably put this here and make a slightly darker pigment too. I kind of want to go a little bit darker, more ultramarine blue for kind of some of the shadow colors. It's like a nice mid-tone that we made though. So there's, yeah, some darker colors there. So we'll have like slightly darker, lighter, and then I want quite a bit lighter for some of those little highlights that you see in the dirt here. You can tell that the sun is like reflecting off of some like maybe little white bits or like dried out dirt on the top. I also love gardening, so I look at dirt a lot. See these like subtle pigments in the dirt when you work with dirt a lot. Does anyone else like gardening too? I specifically like food gardening. That's been like my thing the last like, I don't know, I guess the first year we bought our home, I started food gardening. I've been doing it for a while now. Okay, let's check that. We're definitely going to make that a little bit lighter with some titanium white. Okay, let's see how that looks. Just keep holding it up to the reference image. There we go. It's almost got kind of like a purplish tint to it, so like that'll be really nice for the dirt there. Now I noticed kind of over here, the dirt kind of has like a little bit more like red and almost like a reflection from the sun, and I think that's why it's turning a little bit more red in that area. We could make a slightly different color for that just so it kind of stands out a bit, because the dirt kind of like dips in that one area. So I think I will make another color for that. So you've got like the burnt sienna, just hold it up. It's definitely still too red with that. I'm gonna add a bit of green. So I'm gonna get some sap green in that. And I think that'll help. Because sap green has phthalo blue in it, and then it also has a little bit of Indian yellow, which will desaturate the color and then also add quite a bit of blue to this pigment. I'm gonna say I still need to go on the more blue side. I'm gonna have to grab a little bit of more ultramarine blue. It's nice and dark for some of those darker areas. I'm going to save some of that. So it's almost kind of a slightly darker pigment than this one. It's like there. I'm just trying to keep the pigments closer, so I didn't want to make another row. The brown pigments will be at the bottom here. I'm gonna make this slightly brighter, but instead of adding more of this burnt sienna color, I'm gonna actually go more on the cadmium yellow side. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of alizarin crimson as well. This one's just a mashup of a bunch of different colors, but I think it's going to give us kind of the pigment that we want. It's a little bit lighter than this, so we're going to add a little bit of titanium white. I don't want to add too much white because it'll kind of drown out the color too much. And I want it just slightly different than this. That's why I'm going more on the red side for that pigment. A little bit more red with the alizarin crimson. Yeah, a little bit more red there. Okay. Make funny faces, look at your work. A little bit of ultramarine blue. I'm just making the color slightly darker because I did lighten it a little too much. I'm just adding ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson back to that. There we go, that looks actually really good. I think I like that pigment. Just gonna mix that up a little bit more. I'm kind of just like taking them on the end of my palette knife too. I feel like it makes like nice little piles. So that's kind of for the darker section, these two, and then this is for the main part of the dirt area. And then I'm thinking like, I feel like the greens that are on like the grassy bits, I feel like they're kind of like this green color. So I don't think we need to really mix. I'm talking about like these bits in here, kind of on the dirt parts. They're like brighter because they're in the sun. But I think that pigment will work. We can always mix something on the go if we feel like we need to, but I don't want to mix too many colors. Sometimes I go a little crazy and then I don't use all the colors that I mix, so I'm trying to be more cautious of that, of mixing that I don't need to do. Because we can always mix on the go too, but it's nice to kind of have like a starting place for everything, and that's why I like to do the mixing beforehand. It's nice to have a place to start from. Okay, I'm going to transfer to the main painting scene there, and we should have that. I'm going to just move over that so you can see there. I'm going to grab my linseed oil too. I have a bit of linseed oil in a container. That's just to clean off my brush in between colors. Put that up there so you guys can kind of see when I'm dipping my brush into the linseed oil. I don't really like to use a lot of mediums. If I'm going to use medium, I'll sometimes use, there's a solvent-free gel like Amblin makes. I like that one. Or I just use straight linseed oil because it's like the easiest. I'm just gonna clean off my phone screen. I will move this camera over too because my easel is right here, so then you guys can see me a little bit better. And go behind the camera and move it. I haven't really figured out a better solution for this other than I'm gonna move the camera. Oh, and I've got like the pile of recycling there. You guys see that? Get to see my recycling pile on the floor. I was sorting recycling because we're leaving for a bit. Look at all of that recycling. I'm gonna leave for the long weekend, so just trying to like clean up the house because it's always nice to come home to a nice clean house after like a vacation. Did I tell you guys last week that we're also going to California? I guess I mentioned it earlier in this stream, but I'm really excited to go to California, and we're gonna go for like 2 weeks. I think is kind of what we booked, 14 days. So that'll be a nice trip. I've never actually been to California before, so it'll be a new thing for me. I haven't actually traveled much, to be honest, like more in Canada than outside of Canada. Only been to a few kind of like international destinations. Like I've been to Florida. Me and my family growing up, we like drove down the coast, the east coast of the US, and we went to Florida at one point, and I've been to Dominican Republic. So to the US a few times and Dominican Republic. I haven't been to the other side of the world yet though. That's my goal. At some point I'd really love to go to Europe and Europe and Australia and New Zealand would be really fun. I would like to do more traveling as I get older. I feel like as you get older too, you build up more of a savings and you have more money to travel too, so that's the hope. I'm just adjusting this a bit so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. I adjusted it beforehand, so I think the colors are better today. Come home and get back to everything without cleaning up. Yeah, we're going this long weekend and then we come back for like maybe like a week and a half and then we're gone for another 2 weeks again. So that's like, we got a busy couple weeks, but like a fun busy, you know what I mean? Like I like that type of busy. Texas. I've never been to Texas before. I would like to visit Texas. That would be cool. Yeah, on our California trip, we're doing LA, and then we're gonna drive down to San Diego as well. So those are the two places we're going in California. And we have some family down there and friends, so we're gonna stay with them for a little bit, which is nice. Get to explore their area. Since we've never been there, it's nice to have people that like know their way around there. It's nice when you can like travel with locals. Like our friend, she lives up in the Yukon, and it's nice to visit because she knows her way around up in the Yukon, so she can kind of like tour us around. Okay. Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning the blue bonnets at some point. Maybe it was someone else that mentioned. I think it was you, Deborah, that mentioned it. But I would love to see the blue bonnets there. I remember looking them up on Google and I'm like, oh my gosh, they look so gorgeous. I love flower fields. I mean, I guess we're painting flowers today, so that makes sense. So I am just adjusting my cameras. I think that'll be good. Just trying to get, yeah, camera adjusted, just starting that. So I'm just gonna use my little kneaded eraser and I'm gonna take off a little bit of the pigment. I tried to do a very, very light sketch, just kind of get a general idea of where everything will sit, but I don't like to do a super detailed sketch. I know some people like to do a detailed sketch, but I find with oil paints, the graphite kind of like comes off when you're painting. So if I do it really light and then I kind of dab more of it off before I paint, then I don't have an issue with it mixing. But I need to like be able to see it, so I'm trying not to erase too much. I mean, it's kind of like very general, just like where the flowers are, kind of where the horizon line is, and that's really all we need. And then where that little line kind of goes for the like hill slope there. But other than that, you can just like do most of it on the actual painting with paint. So first off, I guess we will start with, I think we'll start with the sky. I'm going to use a number 2 flat brush. So I've got a little number 2 flat brush. I like the Sienna flat brushes. I feel like I've really gravitated towards these since I got them a few months ago. I don't know if it's just because they're new brushes and like the tips are still like very sharp, but I really like the flat brushes. I also like their little angular brush too. I got their angular brush, and it's quite nice for little details and stuff. So we're gonna start out, I think, with the sky colors. We're gonna do the darker parts first. So I'm gonna do those little mountains that are in there. Start out with this darker pigment. We'll get kind of the horizon line started. That'll be our first kind of get that horizon line in there. And I like to start out kind of with the darker pigments and then we can work. But I'm also working in sections too. Might as well get the sky out of the way, kind of at the top. I try not to work from like bottom to top because then I'm gonna end up like getting my hand in everything. So that's why I'm kind of working from the top to the bottom, because oil paints, they don't dry as quick as acrylics. Definitely do not dry as quick as acrylics. They take a few days to dry. Some pigments take quite a while. Like I have a few pigments that take like sometimes like 2 weeks to dry, depending on the pigment. That is kind of the horizon line we're looking at. Just trying to do the horizon line around the kind of like 3/4 bit of the painting. I don't want it up too high. I don't think I put it up too high. I think that's good. Trying to do that, and then we kind of like will pile the flowers over top of some of it, getting that base kind of down. And then I'm gonna just clean this off a little bit before I go into the next color, because this kind of mountainy color is quite a bit darker than the sky color. I don't want a ton of the pigment to mix. So I'm gonna grab this nice blue color, and we're gonna start working on the sky areas. We'll leave areas for like the clouds kind of around this area. Doing kind of a general sweep of this color around. Trying not to put this on too thick either. It's the other thing, because then we can add more layers later on if we want to. But if you put it on too thick, then it's going to be hard to add layers. Okay. Clean a little bit of that off. We'll go into this next color here. Starting to kind of blend this slightly lighter color into here. Kind of there's like almost like lighter clouds in the top section, and then it goes into slightly brighter clouds lower down. I'm going to go into some titanium white here. I'm blending it with the color that's already on my brush, because you don't want just titanium white by itself. It'll be way too bright. Slowly blend in those cloud colors. And you'll see the sky start to take shape once you get those clouds in. And it's kind of blurry in the background, so you really don't want the clouds to be too detailed or anything. So we're just adding in kind of wispy clouds in the background so they blend in still. And same with the flowers in the back. We don't want those to be super detailed, so we're actually going to make sure that when we put the flowers in kind of near the horizon line here, we're not doing them super detailed. We want those front flowers to be the most detailed, at least if you want kind of that blurry background. Last week we did like little sushi rolls, and we kind of did kind of the same thing with, here, I'll show you guys last week's. Might as well show you guys. It's just over here. It just dried the other day, so I was like, I'll put it up on my wall of, so this is the one we did last week. So it's kind of got that like blurry effect with the blurry sushi in the background. So we're kind of doing that with the flowers today. So we're gonna not do as many details in those back ones. That was our cute little sushi though. I love painting sushi. So much fun. And that's normally what I do. I normally do still lifes, but I'm doing a collab with another artist this week, and she picked this photo, and I've been really wanting to do more landscapes, so this Definitely, like, I feel like doing the collabs, it gets me out of my comfort zone, which I really like. Gets me to try some new things and explore. Okay. Just trying to bring these mountains into the background a little bit more. So I want a little bit of like almost cloud cover over them too. I want a little dark with the clouds, so just bringing those into the back a bit more. It's okay, you can have slightly darker mountains. Just gonna bring some of that sky color over top of the mountain. There we go. Just trying to make sure it's kind of like straight across too. There we go. Okay, I'll put this to the side in case we want to come back and do a little bit more detail in like the clouds later. I'm gonna grab my zero flat brush now, and I'm gonna start on some of those flowers in the background. I'm gonna start out with the pink parts of the flowers, and then we'll slowly move into like those lighter sections. So I'm gonna take some of the, I feel like the flowers kind of at the back are almost, this is like the darkest color, is that like purpley color we made. So we'll start out with, I guess, that purple, and there's more of those reds kind of as we get forward. I'm kind of just dabbing them on in like a V shape because most of them kind of have the white kind of in the middle, and we want them to be pretty blurry, so we don't want a lot of detail in these flowers. Kind of going for almost like more of like a looser style in the background, and then as we get forward we'll add a bit more detail. I think that's like my favorite way to do like flower fields. And the flowers like at most kind of come like up to here, but these ones have a little bit more detail in them as they come to the front. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that white pigment now. I'm not going to clean off my brush. I'm just going to dip into that one. I'm just going to fill in some of those gaps. Kind of just trying to fill in some of the white background. We can go back in with other pigments and add a little bit more. add more of the brighter white after as well. My husband's updating his LinkedIn profile. That's good that you're updating it though, hon. I don't use LinkedIn very often. I'm not like a businessy person. But I do have a LinkedIn because I'm like, maybe people on LinkedIn want to see my art stuff. I don't know. Is LinkedIn kind of just like a North American thing? I wonder if people around the world actually use LinkedIn. Getting those colors in there. I'm gonna grab another brush too because I want to keep that color, but I'm gonna grab this one and add some of that like red color that we made. Let's start adding some of that into like the little flowers. I can actually add the darker kind of red. I think I need the darker color. Changed my mind. There's definitely still some like darker colors in some of these further away ones. They're just like very lightly. Like I said, at this point we're just trying to fill in the little like white sections. Kind of making slight flower shapes, but they don't really look like flowers yet. I mean, the ones in the background don't particularly look like flowers. They kind of just have the essence of all the colors. I grab that brush again, clean it up a little bit. Start to add kind of like these lighter highlights in the middle of the flower. Going over these mountain bits of it so they're not so prominent. I want the mountain to go more into the background, so if we overlap some of the flowers in the foreground there, it'll kind of push it a little bit further back. almost up into the sky a little bit. Some of the flowers, especially over on this end, these flowers go up a little bit higher. There we go, coming together. Just trying to adjust the colors again because I know they're a little bit off on the camera still, but not too bad. It's still looking like a little bit, almost kind of like the color almost looks a little bit blue. Let's try to correct it on the fly again. See if we can get the sky is not that blue in person. Made it darker. I don't want to make it too bright on you guys. Oh, that is way too bad. Can't get the colors accurate. There must be like some sort of app I can like download for this. I feel like I just haven't found a camera that like, I don't know, man, that's probably like the closest we're getting it. It seems so blue still, right guys? Like, how do I make those colors more accurate for you? The constant struggle with that, right? I want it to look good for you guys. I'm just starting to add kind of some of those darker tones now into some of these more front flowers. Slowly add those in a little bit. And I'm actually going to grab another brush because we can start to add a little bit of those darker pigments for the, let's grab, let's grab this one. This will be good. We'll make this our green brush. This is a flat shader brush, number 6. This is one of the Princeton Velvet Touch series brushes. I'm just going to add some of these darker purpley, bluish purple, darker bits in here. We're going to start adding some of the green in between. I'm going to go into that sap green now. Not going to clean off the brush, just get a little bit of that sap green on there. Just slowly going to bring these darker greens into the mix. We're kind of layering it. Like I said, we're going from more, well, I am anyway. You guys can do more detail in the background if you want for yours. kind of like to not do a ton of detail when it comes to the back flowers. I'm gonna go in some of this red now. I want a few kind of flowers in this front area here. A little bit more of that red. These ones are going to be a little bit more detailed. These ones over here. I'm just going to block in where I want them, and then I want this one as well to be a bit more detailed. More red kind of in the back here as well. You almost get kind of more this like reddish tint as they get closer. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do. Flowers. Okay. I almost used the wrong one. I'm gonna get this brush again that had, as I drop it and smear paint all over the floor. Just let me wipe it up. Getting paint all over my hand now. Everything's fine. It's all good. Okay. I'm going to add a very small amount of this to the red areas. Excuse me. There we go. It's starting to look like a flower field now. Getting there. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a little bit more of those green pigments in there. Go to this kind of lighter green, the next color down. I'm gonna get this light green in there as well. Okay, I'm going to start to shape out these flowers in the front now. I'm going to grab that darker color. I'm going to put it just kind of along the edge of the flower. Start to make the stem. There's kind of some darker bits peeking through. Kind of just trying to shape them now too. I grab some of the lighter red colors now. Clean this brush off. Just dipping it in a little bit of that linseed oil. Some of that lighter pigment now. Add some of those kind of reds to some of the back ones too, not too much. looking pretty good in there. I'm going to start to add a little bit more of that green. Start out with this kind of green, this mid-tone green that we made that's a little bit more desaturated. I'm going to start using that for some of the stems. I don't want to bring these down too much though. Just the general area where the stem is going to be, and then we're going to put the leaves off of those areas. Try not to go down into these ones too much. Okay. I think what we'll do is I'll maybe like do more detail on those front flowers now before we kind of start adding all that green back there, in case we want to expand the flowers a little bit. Sometimes it's nice to put those little front details in, and then we can just like play with the background a little bit more. So those front flowers are probably going to take us the longest out of this painting because I want to get a decent amount of details. So we're going to kind of put that top layer down, get like the base of the colors and where they're going to lay, and then we'll go in and add a little bit more like specks of detail. So I'm going to start out with, I think actually this kind of like mid-tone red that we made. So we're just going to mark off where the flowers are. So there's one right here. And it's kind of got this one is a little bit higher up. I'm trying to see where I put them. There's almost like a little bit of a back part of the top of these ones. It shows a little bit of red in the middle. So I'm just putting those colors in. Get some of these colors here at the bottom. And this one actually fades up into like white on that side here. Put the green a little bit down in that area, but that's okay. Go back in and kind of cover that up a little bit, and it'll be good. So the next thing we're going to do is add some of those purples in. little bit of this and I can cover that flower up that we made. I'm just gonna get a base layer of that kind of like brown color in too. It's kind of like this area. I'll leave room for like adding shadows and stuff there. Then it goes into this slightly lighter color. Just adding those base colors in there. Add little bits or little areas so we can add more of those green kind of specks as well. A darker pigment kind of for the shadows. Grab this lighter pigment that we made as well and kind of put it along this edge that we made. Try not to go over where I want to put the leaves too for the flowers here. And then there's kind of this darker one on this side here. Slightly darker color we need, kind of in the shadow area. Just trying to get those shadows in now before we add even more detail. And then we've got some kind of like green areas within these. I'm gonna add kind of the brighter green as well, but we'll add the darkest parts right now. Start out with those dark areas. Get those darker greens in there, and then that'll look pretty good. Okay. Get those in. I'm gonna also grab a little bit of that darker green, pretty much purple, I guess. Go get the kind of darker blue purple. I'm just gonna add in some of those deeper areas, in these shadow areas here, just to cover up the rest of that white part on the canvas. I don't want to cover it all up in this darker color. I want some lighter greens in there too, so I'll leave some space for the lighter greens as well. And a little over on the edge here. Kind of almost just like dabbing it in a little bit. I can always add a little bit more dark near the end, but I'm trying not to. Go. I also kind of want to add like a little bit more texture in that background area too, so I'm going to layer it with a little bit more paint as I go up in colors. Sometimes I like to just add a little bit of texture. It's nice to see the paint texture in the back there. I haven't done it too much on some of these smaller paintings, but getting there. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of that more detail into the flower in the front now. Also have to add the stems on them too, so we know where they're going before we add more background around that area. Just taking a little bit of this pigment off so that I can get into this lighter color here. Oh, there's definitely a little lint or fuzzy on that. Trying to shape the flower a little bit more now. And then we can take a really fine liner brush and add like all those little details in the flower. I love adding a little detail, that's so fun. Switch to the smaller brush yet, but I might have to soon. Try to use the big brushes until we're adding those details. Add a bit more of that darker color in the middle of that section at the back. Okay, I'm going to grab a smaller brush now because we're really getting into those details. We'll go right for the 20/0. Get those really, really tiny details. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this purpley color. Actually, outline this flower a little bit. Grab this green color, just bringing the green over this a bit. So we kind of know where we want to put the flower now, so I can bring this green in behind it. We're gonna actually want to put a bit more of that brown color in that area, so just bringing some of these colors back in as we get the detail on the flower, just because I don't want any of the white showing while I'm adding detail. It's a little bit easier to judge where to put things if we don't have as much of the background there. Okay. This is almost tilted too much down. There we go. Go back into the flowers. Look at my other 10/0 brush. We're using the 20/0. I got a 10/0 too, so I'm going to add some red pigments on it because I really need to add a little bit more red in some of these areas. Get those nice colors in there. I've hopefully brought these front flowers into the foreground enough. Just trying to focus on where they are going and just like reshaping them slowly. It's a lot of pushing colors, like almost like back and forth when you're working with this. Thank you. Yeah, it's coming along slowly. Yeah, I made it like a little bit more blue. It's actually like pretty similar in person. I'm just dealing with very different colors compared to like when it's on the screen. It's actually kind of similar in person. My husband always comes downstairs and he's like when I'm done painting, and he's like, oh, it looked different like on screen. That's why I always post a reference photo afterward, or the finished painting afterwards as well. So I'll leave like a little picture of the finished painting, probably either on my community tab or Instagram. I always post it afterwards, so then you guys can see the difference. Okay, I gotta get those darker kind of purpley reds now. And the edges, that'll make those side sections pop a little bit more. But I did make the sky a little bit more blue, and I wanted the mountains to like pop a little bit more too. So I added a bit more mountain in the photo. Now I've just got multiple brushes in my hands. I'm just like trading back and forth as I paint. So I need a bit of that. Grab a little bit. Slowly get that color. And I just have to use the small brushes for that. A little bit easier with the small brushes when you're doing like such tiny details. Add a little bit of detail here. I need one more liner brush, right? So I can have like the lighter pigment too. Hello, husband.
Hello.
Yeah, the sky just looks more blue on the painting. If you want to see.
I mean, I guess you your reference photo on the screen there. It's a lighter blue for sure.
It is a lighter blue. I just like didn't want to mute it that much. I took the I made the executive decision to make it brighter. It's all about the details in these like front flowers now, so then everything else stands out.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in focus, right?
Yeah. Because if you get the front flowers kind of like more detailed. Oh, Toby, you're knocking my lights, man. It's like, sorry, Mom. Topico is like knocking my lights. This is why I have to set them up like the day of, because anytime I like set all of the lights up and stuff, the cats play with them, and the dog knocks them over. Got a silly bunch of animals over here. Are you making tea?
Making hot water.
Tea? Is there peppermint tea up there?
Yeah.
Could you make me some peppermint tea?
Okay, I'll make some.
Thanks, son. Just adding these lighter colors in here now. Right around the edges of the flower, because that'll make stand out a little bit more.
I don't know if you've been on Canva lately to make a graphic, but I needed one for my banner, and I noticed they actually have an option to draw on the graphic now.
Yeah, you can draw now.
I don't think that was always there.
I guess you haven't used it for a while. They've added a lot of like features to Canva.
Hopefully the brushes are good enough. You could draw directly on the graphic with a decent brush.
Toby, you're knocking my camera.
Because that'd be kind of nice.
Ugh, he knocked my camera. Knocking my camera. Silly dog. Silly doggo. Kind of trying to like maintain the same vibe as like the painting I made for your mom.
With the gaillardias?
Yeah.
Well, not gaillardias.
With the in focus flowers in the front and the more kind of like textured flowers in the back.
They were gaillardias, right? The red and yellow one?
Yeah, the gaillardia one.
See, I remembered.
You remembered them? Yeah, I like that gaillardia one.
Are you bringing my mom a painting?
Yeah, I was gonna bring it to her this time. I don't have a frame for it though. But I guess she could frame it the way that she wants to, because I don't know how she wants to frame it or where she wants to put it on her wall yet.
Well, she might already have like a framing theme, because she does have stuff up on the wall.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't think I want to like frame it for her, because she might want to do it herself. Like if I pick a basic frame for her.
Stay.
I could also mount it on...
Should I just put it over here, or do you want to put it over there?
Over here's fine. I've been keeping my water there anyway.
I'm gonna head back up. I just wanted to drink top up.
Thanks, son. And he stayed to make me some tea. Got work to do. yeah, we've got some work to do before well, I guess my husband, we can both kind of work from afar, so we both work from home. So he can just take his work with us when we go to the mainland, which is nice. Kind of like traveling before he goes to work tomorrow, so it's kind of nice. Traveling, we're doing like an early morning one. We gotta get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow so we can catch the ferry over. We live on an island, so gotta catch the ferry over to the mainland. Okay, those flowers are looking pretty good in the front there. I want to start adding like the stems and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna grab the green brush. I'm gonna get the darker kind of purpley color because the stem closer to the flower has a shadow to it. So we're gonna keep that darker. And then from there we'll go into the lighter areas. Hello, how's it going? Getting there. What did you eat today? I had, so far today, I ate an English muffin with just egg and lettuce and tomatoes and a piece of like the Daya cheese. And then, oh, I also had a blueberry lemon muffin because I made blueberry lemon muffins yesterday. So that was my breakfast. And for lunch, we made some like veggies on the fire last night and had like that with our friends. Our friends came over and we had like a little fire out back. And we did like roasted veggies on the fire. They were so good. And thank you. I'm glad you enjoy watching my art. Today I was like so excited to paint these little flowers because it's a collab with another artist today. She provided this reference photo for the challenge this week. And I love it. It's so pretty. I need to paint more flowers. Oh right, I was gonna show you guys. I'm gonna actually give this painting away soon, so I should show you before I give it away. I'm kind of trying to go with the same vibe of this painting. So this is the one that I made for my husband's mother. It's kind of hard to put it in frame because it's so zoomed in, but this one's the Gaillardia. So I'm kind of trying to go with the same vibe as the Gaillardia one, except smaller. We're doing a smaller one right now. That's the plan with this one, is I kind of want similar vibe to that one. Because when I saw the reference photo she provided, I was like, oh, it's like kind of similar to like the Gaillardia one that I did. It's even got like the mountains in the back, and yeah, I like that one. Okay, I gotta do the dark on kind of the leafy part too, because there's gonna be a stem with the leaf kind of come out all over here. Just getting those darker sections, kind of just using that darker purple. I'm gonna grab this one over here too, because I'm gonna make another stem, or not a stem, a leaf there. And we can always go back in with more of this darker color if we want. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's I'm excited to give that painting to her. It's I already put a varnish and stuff on that one. I made it last summer for her, but I wanted to make sure it was fully dry before I varnished it. So She's been waiting. I've already shown it to her, but she's been waiting to get it. So I figured what a perfect time than like around Mother's Day, and we're going to visit in person, so it's nice that we can like bring it to her in person, especially for Mother's Day. Okay, I'm gonna grab some of this brighter green. I'm gonna mix it with some of this other green, do kind of like a transition-y color. A little bit of both, you know? There we go. Got like a little bit of both there. That's gonna be our green color for the leaf. Kind of comes out there. It's a bit wavy, the leaf. And then there's another kind of leaf area over here. Mix those colors too. Which color brand do you use for painting? So I really like the Gamblin oil paints. They're kind of my favorite. If I'm using like acrylics, I like to use the Liquitex ones. They're kind of the ones that I tend to gravitate towards. I used to do a lot of acrylic painting, but now I've mostly been doing the oil painting. So here, I can show you a paint tube. This is Gamblin. These are the Gamblin artist oil colors. They also have like a student grade line as well, but I just buy the more expensive ones because I find they're just like more pigmented. They're both good though. They have, I think it's like the 1980s ones, I think it's called. Those are more like student grade, but they're good as well. So I tend to gravitate towards oil paints now because I just really love the texture of them. But yeah, I only use Gamblin because it's just available where I'm at. I've wanted to try other brands. There's a few other ones that use like walnut oil in them, but I haven't been able to really find them locally, and the shipping to Canada isn't great. I opened up like an art shop too, recently, like my website, and like I was looking at like shipping rates and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Canada shipping rates are horrible, honestly. Like Canada's got to get it together with the shipping. Like it's so bad here. I'm like, it's cheaper to ship to the other side of the world than it is to ship in Canada directly. I'm like, how is that? That's horrible. Like, why is it so expensive to ship in our own country, but we can like ship around the world for cheaper? Like, I can ship something all the way to like Florida in the US for like $9. And in Canada, it's like $20 here. I was blown away the other day when I was like looking up shipping rates for my website. I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, so that was my shock of the day. Honestly shocked. When did I start? I've been drawing pretty much my whole life. I've always really loved art since I was a kid. Both my parents really love art too, so I think that probably is also why. Like my dad still does like a ton of like artsy things. Like he in his spare time he actually paints like football helmets and stuff, and he's really into different design type things. And then my mom doesn't do as much art anymore, but she did go to art school for a bit there when she was younger. She went to like, she did some art in college. But yeah, I've just kind of been doing art for a really long time, so I couldn't actually pinpoint when I started. I'll just say when I could hold a pencil, I was doing art. Really, honestly, for as long as I can remember, though, because And my parents said I was always drawing and I was always getting, like the art awards at school and stuff. I just always really loved drawing. And I definitely wasn't very good at it for a long time, but I just enjoyed creating. I think that's the thing that a lot of artists have in common. It's just like, it doesn't matter if you're good or not, just like, you just like want to get like ideas down on paper, So I was always creating things. And our son is kind of the same way too. I have a son, and he is like 8 years old. And I made him a cute little art corner because I'm like, oh, I would have loved that as a kid. And I like got him like the little art carts and stuff from Michael's. I got him 2 of those, and I just filled it with like craft supplies. And I'm like, he loves it so much. He's just there all the time creating stuff. And I'm always like adding new things to it and finding like cool little creative things. He loves painting too, so we got him like a little travel easel thing for his area and like a little glass palette for his area. He loves it. He's started using the glue gun recently. Oh my gosh, he loves the glue gun. He's been gluing so many little structures together. He loves making things with like popsicle sticks. I think it's because he sees me doing art a lot too. I feel like that's the thing, is like when you're a kid, if you like see your parents doing it a lot, you probably will do the same thing. Like the one thing I never actually learned was how to like play an instrument because my parents didn't play instruments. I would have loved to learn that as a kid. It's not too late though. I've thought about it. I've thought about taking like classes for an instrument. I'm not sure what I would want to play though. I've always kind of wanted to learn how to do the guitar. We have guitars at home and I've tried a few times. But I think I need just like actual lessons from someone, I don't even know how to read music. I was also really like growing up, I was really into I did a lot of like theater. I was a theater kid. And I liked performing and I don't know, I just really loved it. And so I was always doing all the theater things. I was in all the plays at school. I was on the drama club. I did drama class. At one point, I even applied to go to a dramatic arts school because I was like, oh, I either want to do like art or drama. And then I realized that like school was just like ridiculously expensive and like I would go into a bunch of debt for that. And I was like, no, I'll just find my own path. So that's why I do this now. Now I do art full time. And you don't need an art degree to do art. I think that's what I've realized is there's a lot of people saying that you need to like go to art school, and I think it's great if you can afford to go to art school, have at it. But if you're going to go into a ton of debt for art school, do not do it. I would advise you do not do that. School is just way too expensive nowadays. And it's not worth it to be in tons and tons of debt. It's one thing I'm like really proud of as an adult is the only debt I have is my mortgage. Me and my husband only have a mortgage and that is it. And we're trying to pay it off. Not like super fast because I'd rather put the money in like our investments, but ideally do not go into debt. Don't buy things you can't afford. That is what I have slowly learned. Just don't buy things you can't afford. Like car payments, don't do it. Get a cheap car. Don't have car payments. They're depreciating assets. don't know why I'm talking about money all of a sudden. I feel like it's something me and my husband talk about a lot too. Okay, I'm gonna add some like different colors into these leaves here to make them like look a little bit more realistic as well. So I'm gonna grab kind of this brighter green that I made. I'm gonna slowly kind of add that in to this here. Just have to add more detail into the leaf, which will take a little bit, kind of like the flower. When you're wanting to add more detail, you definitely have to add like kind of different layers too. Just adding a bit more texture or a bit more shape to the leaf. I don't like the shape that I had originally made it there. Just adding a bit more shape to it. Go. I'm gonna go into a bit of this purplish color now. And I've gotta start adding. I might want to get a smaller brush for some of this kind of like more detailed sections. I'm gonna use some of the brushes I was using on the flower, so I'm gonna clean those. I need more like liner brushes, I think. I was trying not to go crazy buying too many brushes, so. But it's nice when you're like using lots of colors to have multiple brushes for things, right? Is there any artists that inspire you to draw? Oh, I missed that question. Any artists? I follow a few people. Right now, I've been talking a lot with Lily Rose Burgess. She's an Australian artist. I don't know if you've heard of her. Look up her Instagram though. I really am inspired by a lot of her colorful art. And yeah, I've been talking with her. And she's been kind of giving me some ideas on how I can improve some of my social media, because she definitely has her social media down pat. I feel like that's like one thing I'm like learning is how to like properly structure my social media and get it working. But yeah, I also like really love her art too. I feel like a lot of her art is very similar to like what I like doing. The colorful still lifes. I always loved still life drawing, so when I found her stuff, I was like, oh wow, it's like very like similar. I really like her stuff. I mean, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with the TV show Art Attack too. I don't know if you watch that. It's like a British TV show. But in Canada, they always played it on our TV stations. And yeah, Art Attack was really popular. And oh my gosh, like I was so inspired as a kid with that TV show, and just like all the like really cool things they used to do. They had these like giant like art attacks that he would make like on the lawn, and he would like construct these massive things out of just like random supplies he would find lying around. And I really enjoyed that as a kid, like making my own art attacks. I'm adding just kind of like white to the edges here, if anyone's wondering what I'm doing. Just adding like white to the edges. There we go. And I'm gonna blend it out a bit, but it's just kind of like gonna make it stand out from the dirt a bit more. Just adding that to the sides. Okay. Just grabbing that like really big dark color. Kind of shape this one a little bit more so it comes out of the side. Thank you. Yeah, once you get those details on the front flowers, it's gonna look a little bit more in the foreground. I really want to add like more texture into these back flowers, just because I like those paintings with like more texture and stuff. So that's kind of what I'm going for. It's that like slight textured look to those back ones. I'm gonna grab, I'll grab this one. That'll be okay. I'm gonna grab this one. My 2/0 round brush that's like super damaged. I'm just using that to pick up some more pigment because I don't want to have to clean off my other ones. Putting it over in the edge there. Trying to shape that so the leaves kind of like get a little bit more dimension in them. Gotta make sure I'm recording in between too. Like trying to record as I do things, but I feel like that's the hard part like about social media, is just remembering to like record things as you're like doing stuff. That's why I'm like the live streams are really great, because then it just like records my whole session, and then you guys could just see my whole process from start to finish and how I paint. And then I don't have to really worry about like uploading things or recording it, because YouTube just takes my live streams afterwards and puts it straight on my channel. And then it's like a tutorial. Then I can produce a tutorial every single week for you guys. Because I've had so many people wanting tutorials, so it's nice. And I know a lot of the people can't actually join like the live streams, so I feel like my audience, a lot of them are like sleeping right now. But this is the only time I can live stream, so a lot of them like watch the replay back, which is nice. It's nice that that's possible, right? People can kind of like watch it back. So if you're watching the replay, hey, how's it going? There we go. Those leaves are looking more leafy, right? Shade out a little bit of that white we put on the edge so it's not too prominent. But yeah, I think it's like coming along slowly. I feel like it's I like how it's turning out so far. I was saying earlier in the stream, I'll make sure to post a fully finished picture up on my community tab so you guys can see it here. And then I'll edit my reel later and I'll post probably a reel today of it. That takes me a little bit longer. My husband made me tea too, so I want to have a sip of that. I should drink that before it gets like freezing cold. Kind of just like pushing and pulling the colors until they all look good. Get those darker colors. Shape that a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more red in this area. Shape the flower at the bottom here. There we go. And if I add a little bit more that white around the leaves too, so they stand out a bit more. So definitely around this area. I love when you add the highlights and then like the whole leaf like pops even more. Okay. And then I'm gonna add slightly darker color to the other side of the leaf so it pops out a little bit more. Add this sap green to it. feel like I'm not liking that leaf at the bottom. I'm just gonna take it out. Distracting. Just take it right out. I tried to make it work, but I didn't like it, so. And go back into that sap green a little bit. I'm gonna add some lighter parts to the leaf. That purple color. Don't put too much on my brush. Getting a lot of that on my brush. Okay. Just kind of adding some of those dirt colors back in. I feel like I need to flip my cloth over. It's really dirty on the other side. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna start to add a little bit more details and some depth into the grassy, kind of muddy area. Let's see what we can do here. We're doing pretty good for time too. We've got a half hour left of the stream, so I'm gonna get some of those darker areas in there, and we'll go in with a lighter color afterwards. Just kind of going in with a sap green kind of color. very roughly putting in these like pretty much weeds, putting in weeds. We add a bit more detail into the leaves after, but for now they're pretty good. Okay. I'm going to go into that brighter green color. I'm going to add a little bit of cadmium yellow to it, just to make it a little brighter. There we go. I'm going to add all those little bright green specks. But we're not adding too much detail to them. They're very rough because I don't want them to stand out too much. I'll grab more of that. I don't want this area to be as back in there. Trying to work around the camera here. Okay, I'm going to add some of those darker bits back into. I already have this smaller brush, and this is the darker color. And once we add kind of like the darker areas and stuff in this back section, it's kind of just all about adding like these details now. I'm gonna add a slight bit of kind of darker sections around these grassy bits as well, just to show that there's like a little bit of shadows, adds a little bit more depth to them. Now we're gonna go into this area. I'm gonna add a little bit of texture along the back. Gonna kind of like fade these into the background a little bit by kind of dabbing them. I don't want to do it too much because just kind of like fading them. I'm gonna see how that looks and see how I like that. Oh yeah, I kind of like that. This one is just a little mini mop brush is what it's called. Mop brushes are really nice, especially if you want like some of those like done like bouquet backgrounds, like the photography bouquet with like the little blurred like dots and stuff that you see in some photography photos. I want to give a little bit of detail in those front ones. Drop in that. Okay. A little bit of detail in these ones. I don't want them like to have as much detail as the actual front ones though. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this color as well. Just gonna add a little bit of this kind of like brighter kind of pink to the top sections. Okay. I like how the shape of that's looking. We're kind of just like getting like a general shape. I'm in ultra artist focus mode right now. Trying to explain through my process as I make these like little decisions. That's like one thing that these live streams have helped me do, is like explain my process a little bit more. Sometimes I still get silent though, so if I miss talking about something or you don't understand what I'm doing, make sure you like let me know, because I don't mind answering your questions like afterwards, especially if you're like watching the live stream back. So just leave your questions below and I can try my best to answer them. Even if it's months down the line, I will do my best to try to answer. Oops, getting paint everywhere today. I'm just clumsily dropping my brushes everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna grab this darker kind of color. Just adding these dark areas in. Okay, and I'm gonna go in some of those lighter pigments. Try to add those brighter pigments back in as well in the green, without disrupting it too much. What I'm trying to do is just like add like the illusion that there's like a lot of like these leaves kind of coming off of the bottoms, and I think we're doing pretty good here. I'm just adding different colors and textures to them, so hopefully they kind of like come together in the end. Add a little bit of more cadmium yellow. We'll slowly make it a little bit more bright green. Just adding slightly brighter green to these leaves, just to add a bit more color and texture, because it's definitely not just the one color of green. We've got like a bunch of different colors. At this point we've probably added like 4 or 5 colors. Kind of adjust those, add a little bit of those bright greens in there. And then we're going to add some of this kind of lighter green with a little bit of that white in it. So Some of these ones near the front, I'm trying to create a little bit more shape with them. Not too much though, I don't want too much detail. The detail is supposed to be kind of more in here. There we go, those are getting more detail now. I feel like that's like kind of bringing it together, getting those like nice little layers. Now, the one thing I also wanted to do was add a little bit more detail in the clouds. Kind of got the back, not a lot. I don't want to add a ton of detail to them. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this with my, I'm using my 20/01. Just a little this. There's a bit of linseed oil that I just added, just to make it move around a little bit more. And I'm gonna just add a little bit more texture to the clouds. I like dragging my brush across to like make very subtle kind of like little clouds back here. I kind of want the clouds to go over the mountain area a little bit too. Especially over the peak of the mountain. Just kind of blend that into the back a little bit more. Kind of like the mountain is in the clouds a bit. There we go. Add a bit more of that blue in there. Kind of just around the clouds a bit more. There we go. Okay. Just adding those like subtle kind of like darker blues back in. Let me go back. I'm like really liking that. I think that looks pretty good. I think I need to add some of those like little lighter specks into the dirt. Maybe I will use this brush to do it. I will just clean it off a little so it's not like so blue. I'm gonna grab a little bit of titanium white and I'll mix it with this lighter color that we made. And this is what I'm going to use to add those kind of lighter, kind of like highlights to the dirt almost. Definitely like on the edges and stuff. And then throughout the dirt areas. We'll go back in and blend it a little bit. I'm just adding this area here. Make that go over the stem a little bit. Not my intention. Just put the stem back in there. That's the thing with wet oil paint. Kind of have to go back and forth with the colors if you go over it by accident. There we go. That just adds like a little extra to the dirt, you know? I'm gonna add some of the darker kind of dirt back in there too. Take that into that area. I'm gonna bring some of that, like, this dirt color back in again, the one that's a bit more red. I feel like we got rid of it a little bit too much in this area earlier when we were adding other things. I like how that is like a slightly different color than the other side because it shows that it's a bit of a deeper section to the dirt there. It's kind of like reflecting off the one side too. I like that. So it just kind of like adds a little variation with that color on this side. I'm gonna add some of this darker color too. A little bit more of this darker color that we made for the dirt. Kind of in this bottom area to accentuate that shadow a little bit more. got some of this super, super dark, kind of like purpley color. We're gonna add a bit of these shadows. Just keep adding that purple kind of color in this area, just to make it a little bit darker. Just gonna stand back, keep looking at it to make sure I'm getting those values right. So like value is the light and dark area in your painting. And just add a few little, almost like grassy patches. There we go. Okay. I think I'm gonna stop there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there. So I just kind of call it quits because it's like 1 o'clock. So yeah, I should stop. It's been almost 3 hours since I started the stream. Honestly, I'm really happy with this one. I'm so glad that we did the tulip painting today. This is so fun. Thanks for the people that ended up being able to join the live stream today. I appreciate you guys like hanging out and chatting, even if it was just for a little bit. It's nice when like people can join live. And anyone watching it back, thanks for hanging out, and make sure that you guys post that you're finished painting so I can see it here. I'm gonna go to my little thank you screen. Make sure you tag me on social media at Josol Art and use the hashtag mini paint challenge, and then I can see all of your creations. But I will make sure I post a photo of this up on my community tab so you guys can see it. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me this week, and we're gonna be back next week. I'm leaving for the long weekend, but I will be back next Wednesday as well. So I made sure that we're leaving between Thursday and Tuesday, so I'm here for the live streams on Wednesday, so I can still do these with you guys. So I hope you all enjoy your evening or morning, wherever you are, and thanks for hanging out with me. So I will see you next